You should only be doing a task if it's important. If it's not important, you should have eliminated it already anyway. So if it is important, then give yourself a deadline on when it's due by. And some of this will be dictated by, the chronological order in which you need to approach a project. So this is sometimes called the critical path. You have to do part A before doing part B. You have to mix up the ingredients before you put them in the oven, so to speak, if you're baking. So setting deadlines, much like setting a time limit for everything, can also ensure that you get more done.
You're listening to The Growth Booth, the show focused on achieving lifestyle freedom through online businesses. Whether you're looking for step-by-step strategies to start building an online business, simple game plans to grow your business, or proven lifestyle freedom frameworks, you are in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the thousands of listeners already in growth mode.
Aidan Booth here, welcome to episode number 65 of The Growth Booth, where today we're talking about efficiency, productivity, getting more done in less time. And I'm going to be sharing with you over this episode and next week's episode 30 tips. These are 30 of my favorite tips and tricks for getting more done. Now, when you deviate from the usual 9 to 5, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're working for yourself, then we can free ourselves from many of the shackles of the corporate ladder. But the earning potential that we've got as entrepreneurs is dependent on being productive, and the more quality work that you do, the more money that you can make. However, you can have all of the time in the world on your hands, but that's useless if you procrastinate. In fact, the more time that you've got, sometimes it becomes easier and easier to waste more time. So this is the first in a two-part series of podcast episodes where I'm going to be talking about productivity tips, and these are things that I've learnt and practiced myself over almost 20 years of running my own businesses. Now, back when I was getting started online 2 decades ago, I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I had about 3 hours, a window of about 3 hours before I had to leave to go to my day job. So that forced me from a long time ago to really focus on getting the most important thing done. As time went by, I was fortunate enough to be able to earn enough from my online business to quit my day job. But then I had a new challenge. I had, all day, every day available to me. And the big challenge I had was productivity and avoiding procrastination. So that was the challenge. And over time, I figured out a number of tactics that help keep me focused and keep me at my most productive. And I'm going to share these with you in this episode and the next episode. And as always, you can check out thegrowthbooth.com. This episode is number 65, so you can head over to thegrowthbooth.com, find number 65. You can also find us on YouTube. And if you are someone who likes to tune in via YouTube, then just head over to YouTube, search for The Growth Booth, and you'll be able to find the show and navigate to episode number 65. And of course, wherever you listen to this show or watch the show, make sure you subscribe so that you can get updates, be it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or wherever it may be. So on to today's topic. Productivity is difficult to maintain, and discipline is so much more powerful than motivation when it comes to being productive. And in this episode, I'm going to work through 15 tips to help get you started with productivity. And in the next episode, I'll continue building upon these. And the first one, and one of the most important ones, is knowing the order of value of the tasks that you're doing. So not all tasks are created equal. You've got high value tasks, you've got the second highest value task, and then you've got low value tasks. And actually beyond that, you've got negative value tasks as well. So a high value task is something that is creating an income producing asset. So this might be writing a book that you're going to sell on Kindle. It might be launching a line of physical products on Amazon or on your own e-commerce store. It might be speccing out a software tool and hiring someone to actually develop. These might be high-level tasks that you can do that will move the needle in your business and get you making more money. They are tied to income-producing assets. Now, the second highest value tasks are anything that directly contribute to revenue. So this could be filming a marketing video, which is used for advertising. It could be crafting sales emails. The low value tasks are things that need to be done but not directly result in generating income. So this might be the monthly accounting as an example. Now, if you know the order of your tasks, it allows you to focus on the ones that are going to deliver the most return, which are the high value tasks, which are creating income producing assets. And I typically like to try to outsource the lower value tasks, outsource the second highest value tasks, so that I can spend my time focusing on the high value tasks in my business. And this has been a formula that's worked really well for me for a long time now. Now, the second tip that I've got here for you is understanding negative value tasks. And these are things that give you the illusion of productivity, but actually keep you stuck. So I'm talking about things like excessive social media, over-optimizing a website design, or constantly consuming educational content without actually doing anything about it. Okay, so it's important that you try to avoid these negative value tasks, because they're not going to help you be more productive. They're not going to help you get more done in your business. The third tip that I've got for you here today is to have an opportunity cost mindset. And although it's not good to procrastinate and avoid action, it's also not good to jump into something without considering long-term value and whether or not that task is something that is aligned with where you want to get to. And I think this is why when you are or at least when I'm at my most productive best, it's when I'm focusing on tasks which have got alignment between my short-term goals but also my long-term goals. And this is when a goal-setting exercise of setting out a 15-year goal, 10-year goal, 5-year goal, 1-year goal can be very valuable, because it allows you to line these things up and right down to the point, like get incredibly granular with it, right down to the point of the tasks that you're focusing on today. So that ties in with opportunity cost mindset and just making sure that when you do dive into a task, it's a task that you really should be diving into. The fourth item I've got here is planning versus working. And for new businesses, your focus needs to be on less planning and more action. It's the action that ultimately gets something new going, and it also solves overwhelm. So get started with what you know, and then determine the next steps when you reach that point. It's a little bit like jumping out of an airplane and building a parachute on the way down. That's what starting new businesses can feel like sometimes. But you only need to focus on knocking off the very next most important thing without worrying about, well, what if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? So again, focus on actually working versus planning. The fifth item that I've got here is paving the road to success, and about how experience is what you can use to build your path, and just jumping in and taking massive action and doing it. And property is something that comes to mind for me here as a personal example. I've built a property portfolio spanning 3 different continents now, and we've got a wide range of different types of properties, and I feel quite well versed in that area. But when I was starting out, I literally dived in the deep end and had to learn how to swim with that first property. I bought a 28 square metre, which is around about 300 square feet, apartment in Buenos Aires. And this was my first property that I'd ever purchased. And it was definitely the one that I learnt the most from. But it's like one of those things where you do something one time, and the amount that you can learn from actually doing it is so much more than learning from theory. So I think when it comes to paving the road to your success, experience is the best type of building block, and just jumping in and taking massive action is the best way to go there. The sixth item I've got here for you is time blocking. So this is where you can schedule out physical blocks of time on your calendar for completing tasks. And it's where you can treat a task like a doctor's appointment. So you know that from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. you're going to be working on such and such a thing. And this is where you can take a to-do list to the next level and make it that much more powerful. And I'll talk more about this in just a moment. The next hack that I've got for you is to set a time limit for everything, because if you don't do this, then Parkinson's law is going to come into play, and this is where work will expand to fill out the time that's available. And an example that comes to mind a long time ago now, but when I was studying, if I had an assignment when I was at university, it would always fill up right until the last day, and I'd be hustling on the last day to be able to get it done. Whereas if I'd set myself a time deadline, even like a virtual deadline, I would have been able to get that done so much faster. And I've seen the same thing over and over and over again with pretty much anything related to online business. So setting time deadlines, time limits for everything can be a huge help there. Now the eighth task here, and this really builds on that seventh one, is to set deadlines on every task. So first of all, you should only be doing a task if it's important. If it's not important, you should have eliminated it already anyway. So if it is important, then give yourself a deadline on when it's due by. And some of this will be dictated by the chronological order in which you need to approach a project. So this is sometimes called the critical path. You have to do part A before doing part B. You have to mix up the ingredients before you put them in the oven, so to speak, if you're baking. So setting deadlines, much like setting a time limit for everything, can also ensure that you get more done.
Today's show is brought to you by the Blueprint Academy, a coaching service that I've been providing for about 8 years now. If you're interested in getting one-on-one coaching from me and my team of experts, as well as being able to leverage the resources and infrastructure that I've got in my business, then head over to thegrowthbooth.com/academy to get all the details. I'm passionate about helping people build businesses online, and this is where I can help you. So again, head over to that link, thegrowthbooth.com/academy, and find out how we can help you at the Blueprint Academy today.
Now, I mentioned to-do lists a moment ago, and I do use a form of a to-do list, but it's more of an action item list for something that I'm going to do on a daily basis, because my real to-do list gets sorted and added into my calendar. So the ninth productivity hack is actually not to have to-do lists, or if you do like writing items down on a piece of paper, transfer them over into a calendar so that the item has some time dedicated to it, much like a doctor's appointment, and you can actually focus on it and get it done. So less focus on to-do lists, more focus on getting items in the calendar. The 10th productivity hack I've got for you here is to set slightly unrealistic objectives and slightly unrealistic time frames. And there's an old saying, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. And I found this to be true on many occasions. And if I was starting a brand new niche website, for example, that was going to rely 100% on organic traffic, so no paid traffic whatsoever, I might aim to be at $5,000 per month profit in 6 months. And that would be an optimistic goal to shoot towards, but it definitely wouldn't be possible. And I feel like if I set myself an objective like that, it would force me to reverse engineer what would need to be done to be able to reach that objective. The 11th hack that I've got here is for you to think about ROM and RAM in terms of brain power. Now, ROM and RAM might not be terms that are used all that much these days, but if you think about your brain like a computer, you've got a limited amount of working memory, and when it's overwhelmed, it'll just slow down like our computers used to do. Now, the key here is to limit your focus and to focus on one or maybe two things at a time maximum. And I'm someone that is guilty of focusing on too many things all the time, but it's something I continue to work on, and I'm aware of it because when I start to focus on too many things, I get into a stage of burnout, which is a real productivity killer. So I think just thinking about your brain a bit like a computer, where if you're throwing too many things at it, you're trying to do too many things at once, it'll slow down. And the solution here is just to focus on one or maybe two things at a time. The next item that I've got for you here is to start a task when it starts and end it when it ends. So this builds upon putting a task in your calendar, essentially. So if you've got a task scheduled to start at 11 a.m. and to finish it at 12 midday, then make sure you actually do that. This will make sure you've got firm deadlines, and you'll build the habit of being disciplined about the amount of time that you spend on different tasks. Hack number 13 that I've got for you is to burn the bridges so that procrastination is not an option, and to put yourself in a position where you are forced to deliver. So let's pretend for a moment that you are building an online business and you want to sell a digital course, an info product essentially, and you've been planning on launching this for a long time now, but you keep procrastinating due to lots of different reasons, like not feeling ready, like being unsure about the course content, like worrying that it might not be successful. Now, in this case, to burn the bridges and to eliminate procrastination, make sure that's not an option, you could publicly announce the launch date of the new course on your website and social media channels and email newsletters. You could also open up pre-registration for the course with an early bird discount, so your customers have a strong incentive to sign up. So by publicly committing to a launch date and having customers pre-register, you create a sense of accountability and urgency to complete the course on time. And this is actually a hack that I use all the time. I make my goals public with my friends, my family, my business partners, and not just my business goals either, but all kinds of different goals. And it really forces me to deliver because I want to be a person who sticks to my word. And in the online space, when I'm launching a new physical product in one of our brands and we've sent out an email to all of our customers about it, that really does force you to take massive action and do whatever it takes to get that product out there and to get that task done. Now, the 14th tip that I've got for you here is to create a resourceful state of mind. And this is a state of mind where you feel like anything is possible. You've probably been in this state of mind before where you're in the zone and you're focused. And there are different ingredients that can help you get in the zone and get in that resourceful state of mind. And it's different for everyone, but for a lot of people, it's things like a workout, a physical workout. Could be music, could be journaling, could be having an extra strong coffee, or any number of these different things. But when you find what works for you, use that to your advantage, and you'll be able to get more done. The 15th and final tip that I've got for you in this episode is to distinguish what the negative triggers are and eliminate them. So figure out what brings you down and what makes you feel unmotivated and low on energy. Exhaustion can be a big one. If there's something negative for me, it's probably exhaustion from time to time. And the best antidote to that is to get more rest and to give myself time to decompress and recharge. Toxic relationships can be another one. Stress that can come from pretty much anywhere can be a negative trigger as well. But the big tip is to get to the root cause of these negative triggers. And I think the only way that you can do that is by taking an objective look at your own situation and trying to make some positive improvements there deliberately. Now, if you're someone that's working a busy 9 to 5, then where do you start with this? It might be difficult to implement all of these. What I would suggest that you do is just choose one or two of these to focus on to begin with. And I'll recap all 15 of them here for you. We started off by talking about knowing the order of your highest value tasks and understanding that not all tasks have got the same value. Understanding what negative tasks are, eliminating them, having an opportunity cost mindset. We spoke about planning versus action and why taking action is so much more important. Using experience to pave your own road to success. We spoke about time blocking, setting up time limits on everything, deadlines, going beyond to-do lists and actually putting tasks that need to be done into a calendar. Setting unrealistic objectives, making sure that you're focused on just one or two things at a time and being aware that your brain and your ability to get things done slows down when you're taking on too much. Starting and finishing tasks when they are scheduled, burning the bridges so that procrastination is not an option, creating a resourceful state of mind and identifying what the negative triggers are and eliminating as many of them as possible. So I hope you found at least one or two things here that you can relate to and that you can work in to your own business, your own life. And we're going to be building on these with 15 more of my favorite productivity hacks in the next episode of The Growth Booth. That's a wrap for this one though. So head over to thegrowthbooth.com, episode number 65, or find us on YouTube by going to The Growth Booth, going to youtube.com and searching for The Growth Booth. And remember to subscribe subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates and watch the video versions of these podcast episodes as well. That's a wrap for this episode. I will see you in the next episode of The Growth Booth. Bye for now.